Hey, and welcome back for another week of our weekly live series. As always, I'm excited to talk with you guys today about this week's topic. If you're new here, my name is Kirsten Allen, and we hang out every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, talking about all things in corporate contracting, how to generate leads using LinkedIn, which we're talking about today, and overall, just how to be successful in transforming your existing business model into corporate offers that you can sell as many as you want and desire, and what my role is to help you install my lead generation system that has led to clients working with partners like Louis Vuitton, have led to one of my amazing clients that just finished a VIP day with me, I believe 2 weeks ago, already having responses and getting meetings booked on the calendar. And even my current client that is also with me in a longer term program that has 3 discovery calls this week. So the process works as long as you work it. And during these episodes, I'm giving you a look into the different strategies that I have used through my several years of career, going back to 2017, starting in B2B sales, selling to the C-suite, going in person, and closing deals to the multi-high six-figure level all the way to the $1 million level. And so what I came to understand is that it all boils down to really basic steps. Doesn't require a lot of fluff, doesn't require a lot of extra, expertise or this grand thing that may seem out of touch, but actually it's within your reach, and the expertise that you have today can be transformative into these organizations. And so during these episodes, I'm here to give you a light into that and some of the strategies that I use. So let's go ahead and dive in today. This episode is going to be pretty short. So go back, use this one, go back to some other lives. I have over 25 different ones that I've done on different topics. But we're going to make this one today short and sweet because I know it's the day before the holiday. Y'all might be traveling just like I am. And so I want to make sure to leave you with something valuable, but short and sweet. So let's talk about, I always kind of talk about the origin of the topic and why we're even talking about this today. And so my experience with LinkedIn is probably like many of you, started off just being a part of the professional world. I came into the workforce at a very still traditional time where, we were told different things. You get on LinkedIn, you have your professional profile, really didn't talk about creating content there, but it was just a place for you to be able to use it to get opportunities, to be able to connect and build your network. Now it's expanded way beyond that, and people have become LinkedIn creators and thought leaders and all the things, which is amazing. But you may still have some of those thoughts of, well, I just used it when I was in the work world, or, that's the only time that I've heard about it. And so I'm with you on that. And what I want to share with you in this particular live is that you can use the same platform to now start to create opportunities to connect with clients. And I want to be really clear on this because a lot of what LinkedIn lead generation looks like can seem a little negative, especially if you're often getting these spammy messages that don't have anything to do with anything. And you're kind of like, this doesn't work. I don't like the messages that I receive, so I don't want to be on there, sending out the same things. And I 100% agree with that, which is why the strategies that I teach clients and that I also teach inside of my Mastering Professional Presence course, which I will link in the comments as well, is how you can use it to build relationships, right? That's the whole point. That's really the goal between getting corporate contracts, is about approaching it as building a relationship. So even as you go on LinkedIn, instead of trying to send paragraphs of a pitch message to individuals in order to get them to move into your services, your goal is to build a relationship with them, see what they need, understand their priorities, establish yourself as a thought partner, as a trusted resource that can also provide assistance and answer solution to whatever problems this organization is facing. I cannot stress this enough. If you approach that lens with every conversation that you have, you will find that you will get a lot more opportunities and traction just because you're curious about solving the problems that they actually have, because you're showing the initiative to understand what those things are. So I want to make that clear. We're not talking about sending 100 messages, copy and paste, saying the same things. No, we're talking about truly making authentic connections that don't seem like a robot and actually show you as a human being. And to, again, demonstrate how this works, I've had clients come back to me and say, that individuals that they've reached out to say things like, oh, I never respond to these emails, but something about yours really stood out. So again, what stood out is the fact that all of the emails that people typically get in these roles are paragraphs of things that don't matter. And that's why they end up in the spam box or end up ignored. Through the process that I teach, it's about building connections and letting that personality shine through as, again, a solutionist and not as someone that's just trying to sell something or push their offer on someone. So it works really, really well when you approach it in this way. So let's go into really the process. And like I mentioned, I do overview this in a course that I have. So this is kind of giving you a preview to what's included in that course. But I have a 3-step process. I told you guys this before in another live. I have frameworks on top of frameworks on top of frameworks. I have a main one, and then in particular areas, I have other frameworks that work in tandem with the overall. But anyway, so for LinkedIn, it's all about these 3 steps. The first thing is going to be to optimize your profile. Super important, not because you necessarily, and this is another approach that I don't have the approach of being a LinkedIn content creator. Most of my clients are not interested in creating a bunch of content, and being a content machine. They just want to figure out how can they use it to their advantage and, be able to use it as low lift as possible. So I want to be clear on that too. If you're looking to be a LinkedIn content creator, this really isn't the place where we do that. We're leveraging this as a small part of our strategy to get maximum results without having to put a whole bunch of content into the machine, if that makes sense. So I know some people's strategy is to be more of a content creator. That's not this. LinkedIn for me and what I teach clients is how to establish your thought leadership. So when you're optimizing your profile, it's with the lens that if I'm reaching out to someone or I'm making a connection, that they can go back to my profile, see everything that I've done, and be able to form an opinion or be able to form an understanding about what I do, the results that I drive, and also have an easy way to work with me after they're able to, after we start that conversation. So when you're optimizing your profile, I go through a whole top to bottom, but you want to make sure that it's very clear and clean and concise at the top. What it is that you do, you have your headline there, you have your picture. Please don't leave that gray placeholder as your banner. Put something that really speaks to what it is that you do. If you have a favorite sports team or something to that effect, or if you want to do something a little bit more promotional, I've seen people do that as well. I've tested both. And if you check out my LinkedIn right now, I just actually have a photo there that's like people being pulled up climbing a mountain, because my presence over there is around leadership coaching. And so that image demonstrates what I do as a leadership coach for organizations. And so something like that, or you speaking on stage, can also be a good option to test for that banner image. But overall, what you want to make sure that your profile speaks to, again, it demonstrates you as that thought leader. It really outlines your experience, your expertise. Your about section is not just a list of things in your resume, but it actually takes people on a journey, right? And gives them a strong call to action with what to do now that they've engaged with you. Recommendations is another area that you want to continue to build up. So as a part of my process with clients, I just walked the client through this yesterday. In your sales process, you want to make sure that you have an area where you can get the client to write you a recommendation. Make this a part of your standard operating procedure so that you can begin to build these up. People do read them, and you can utilize it in so many different ways. The testimonial, again, and it's a way to show that social proof, because what we're also finding out with some corporate clients or university clients through the work that I'm doing is that a lot of people want to see like who's doing it first, right? Who's worked with you first. And so as you get those first few clients in, making sure that you can demonstrate your results, which is a whole nother topic, but we're talking about LinkedIn, but particularly document those recommendations so that people can be able to see what their experience was as they worked with you. So having a stellar profile is going to be key, because if you're making connections and you go to a profile and it's blank, People aren't going to believe, no matter what you say in the message, people aren't going to believe that you're actually the expert you say you are if they go to your profile on the platform you're using to connect with them and there's really no meat there. So that's key, first step. The second step is going to be to create thought leadership style content. And as I mentioned, I want to go back. I still stand on my first point. We're not trying to become LinkedIn content creators, so to speak. However, this part is also important to what I was sharing about people going back and looking at what you're doing, people finding you if they Google your name or your LinkedIn page comes up. Along with you creating that profile, you want to have a good few pieces of content that demonstrate your expertise. It's all about what you can demonstrate. I tell clients this all the time. It's not about the price point. It's about the value that you can demonstrate. So if you are saying this is the price, all you need to do is be able to back that up with the value of what you provide, the value of your expertise, and it'll be a no-brainer. So when you're thinking about content, this is a part of adding to your value and demonstrating your expertise. Have content specifically related to the corporate audiences that you want to serve. Now, I want to be clear here because I know a lot of people in my audience are entrepreneurs. You may do coaching or individual offers. You want to make sure that as you're using LinkedIn to generate corporate business, you need to have some content that speaks directly to them and their pain points. Otherwise, they're going to look at you and they're not going to try to figure out how what you do for entrepreneurs can also be done in corporate organizations. You have to do that thinking for them and guide them down that process to see like, hey, this is for you too. So having those pieces of content there featured on your page, so it's nice and big at the top, will be very helpful for you in pre-selling ultimately and making sure that as people are looking at you, they understand your expertise and they are already getting bought in to what it is that you do and the value that you bring. If you're a speaker or a workshop facilitator, having those pieces of content being you presenting is going to be very strong because then they'll be able to see, okay, this is how this person engaged. I like how they spoke, like I was into this, you know. So again, they're seeing your value demonstrated right in front of them before they even open their wallets, swipe the card, send the purchase order, whatever it looks like to you in order to pay for your services. So we do content all the time, right? We do these lives and all of these different things. Let's use some of that towards our LinkedIn audience and use it as a way of longevity. As people come to my profile, these are some pieces that they'll always be able to see. If you are more of a writer, that can still be of value to you. You can create LinkedIn newsletters, you can create articles and other pieces of content that can be staples on your page that individuals can view and again, understand how you are a thought leader in your space. And so in the course, I go through a few different options of how you can create content. I talk about LinkedIn audio, all the things. So definitely grab that if you want to go deeper into this and understand each of these phases. It's great content in the course. And so that's the second one. So we talked through creating your profile. We talked through just now through creating your thought leadership content. The last piece, once you've done those two, so this process is to be done in a sequential order, right? It all works together in order to create this LinkedIn lead gen machine. So you got the profile, you've created the content. So you want to create, maybe if you haven't done any before, any pieces of content, I would say maybe create 3 to 4 good pieces of content. Video is becoming very popular, of course, in the platform. I think they are actually coming out with a short form video option that they'll be adding as well. So create those pieces of content, if that's video, if that's articles, whatever that is, and feature it on your profile. The next thing that you're ready to do once you've checked those boxes and you completed those missions is now you want to start to make those connections so that you can generate those quality leads. It makes sense, right? And so in doing that, there's a couple of things, and I'm going to try to boil this down to make it as simple as possible. The first thing that you want to do is understand what type of companies that you're looking to target. Some people ask me, or they'll leave a comment and say, well, I don't know who to reach out to or what to say. When you have questions like that, you need to go back to the intention. The intention always answers the what do I say, how do I do it, all of that question, when you can go back to what's the root of what you're trying to accomplish here. So if you, for example, using a client, the screenwriter client that I've talked to you guys about, she just did a VIP day. if you are looking to help screenwriters be more efficient and more effective in their writing process, first thing you need to think about is, okay, what companies or organizations need that? Production companies, obviously. This is a very simplified answer. Okay, and then who within those production companies make the decisions around screenwriters in the writing process? Well, she told me it was like the directors of the writer's room, or maybe there's someone that's, again, the head over the screenwriting department at a school, because we were also talking through universities being a target for her. And so, okay, cool. So then we go to the next step. Well, what are the pain points or things that they experience that my offer can help them do? Well, if writing gets delayed, or there are issues with the script in any way, then that extends the project timeline, which extends the budget, which they don't want to do. Okay, so as we talk about our offer, we begin to engage with them. That's the pain point that we're going to keep in mind and be able to speak to in our content and when we engage with them. So always go back to, what is the problem that you're solving? What's the intention behind it? And then continue to ask yourself those questions, as I just walked you through with that screenwriting example. And that helps you understand who you need to reach out to and what you need to say. So in that part, getting those companies is the first step that you want to look at. Like, what are these companies that I want to work with? I have another client that's like, hey, I really want to work with inner city school systems. Cool. Who are all those school systems that you want to work with? And then from there, you ask yourself the next question. This is how you find people on LinkedIn. What are some of the keywords that the people who make the decisions would go by? So if it's the screenwriting client, it may be, director of writer's room. It may be head of the screenwriting department. So our keywords are probably going to be screenwriting or writers. We're going to use those words as we search different companies. And I walk through this process in detail. I promise that I share screen and everything. So it's maybe hard to understand as I'm explaining it, because I can't share screen here. But basically, once you go in, you search a company, you go over to the people section, you're able to type in keywords to find people who have roles or some involvement with whatever keyword that you typed in. So I told you for hers, we're like screenwriting. Mine is leadership, development, training, HR. Those are some of my keywords. So I type those into the people section on the company profile, and then, or the company section in LinkedIn. And then I'm able to see all the people who have a role related to that keyword that I typed in. And so from there, I have a few people that I can choose from that I begin to connect with. And this is how you start to generate those leads and build a plan to reach out to these individuals that are responsible for these things. And so through that, you have a list of individuals that you're going to begin to connect with. So you start off with the connection. Of course, you can send a message along with your connection request. Sometimes I play around with it. I do, I don't. Like, if I have something valuable to say that is a connection point, I'll send a message. But if I don't just send random stuff. So everything has an intention. If I don't have anything right now, I might just send the request. And it's worked both ways. People have accepted my request, whether I've sent a message or not. And they've responded to me as well. And so another key tip, because again, I'm someone who is not just teaching it, but I'm actually in it. I'm having conversations with decision makers to understand the current climate so that I can be able to share it with clients and be able to advise them. One thing that I'm hearing from decision makers is that they're more apt to respond to LinkedIn messages versus emails, because there's so many emails that come through. There's so many people sending all the things. So to cut through the noise, not saying that email doesn't work, because that's one of our strongest strategies. It does work. However, combining that with LinkedIn and using that as a way to build those connections is going to be valuable to have multiple touch points. I think that is the name of the game, especially with more people doing outreach and more opportunities arising. You want to try to cut through the noise as much as possible. And so that's one example. But same thing that I said, they receive a lot of LinkedIn messages as well. So you got to kind of test and see and be open to using both, again, as a way to continue to increase those touch points. So That's it. That's really it. You get your portfolio or your profile optimized, you get some content up, and then you start making those genuine connections. And that's how you generate leads on LinkedIn, right? You have those conversations. Maybe you go ahead and send them a message about, something that you've noticed that they have on their page, or, maybe you let them know, hey, I'm actually looking to do something in this particular area in training and development. I would love to get your advice on what your experience has been as a professional in this arena, and help me to be able to do some market research around my offer. I've had random people, this is no lie, random people that I've reached out to on LinkedIn that have become partners. I have one that I'm actually working with right now to develop a leadership series that we're doing together, and utilizing his expertise in one area and mine literally just came from a connection on LinkedIn. I've been able to book, of course, discovery calls by using this method. And then I've also been able to engage with like brand new companies that, again, may not have responded via email, but we have that connection on LinkedIn, and that helps be able to turn that into a lead and an opportunity to continue to pursue. And so, final piece that I'll say about this is going back to the point about not being a content creator. A lot of my process, and I actually told someone about this earlier this week, is about really blending the two between, yes, I have this profile. I've also gotten found on LinkedIn by people, and people have signed up to work with me just based on their search results, which is why you want to keep that profile optimized. But how you can generate more leads or generate leads on demand is when you're willing to do this outreach process in a unique and authentic way. Not unique because it doesn't have to be like anything off the wall, but I mean a very authentic way that solves a problem. That's how you can get more responses and more traction in this process. And so it does require, putting in the reps, I say, or putting in the sending out the messages, doing the work. However, it doesn't have to take all day long. You don't have to go and create content every single day. What I say is I have a LinkedIn in an hour checklist that I include in the course, and it just goes over everything that I would do in 1 hour on LinkedIn in order to be successful. You create one piece of content per week. You have a list of companies and individuals that you're working from, and then you just run that process over and over, or you have an assistant come and do it for you each day, or whatever that looks like. And then before you know it, you will have opportunities and people ready to get on discovery calls. As I mentioned, this can be a very quick process. The VIP client, within 2 weeks, already has some responses. Current client has 3 discovery calls on the books from opportunities that she has cultivated over time. But those initial connections that she made, it didn't take a whole lot of, and she actually ran the email strategy. And so that still worked for her, which, I mean, I'm giving you a few different options of how we continue to have success with this. And I know we're talking about LinkedIn specifically today. But the process does not have to take long to continue to get results. You just have to put the reps in. You have to be willing to send the messages, do the follow-ups, be authentic, be a problem solver, be curious. And that's something we all should continue to foster and do as entrepreneurs. We should always be selling our thing, looking for problems that we can solve, and developing our skills around outreach, connections, branding ourselves, all the things. And so it can do nothing but serve you to continue to build that muscle, or again, hire someone who has that expertise who can do that on behalf of your business. All righty. So I hope this was helpful. I said this is going to be short, but this is about the time that we typically do our lives for. So if you just came for the content, then as I always do every week, you are definitely free to go at this point. This is the end of the formal training piece. And as I mentioned, there are several other pieces of content that you can watch and binge as well on topics such as this. But from this point, I'm now going to make an invitation to work with me. So if you actually want to go deeper in this, I talked about the course, and that's one way. But I also want to share with you how you can work with me specifically on developing your plan and strategy on how you'll use LinkedIn. So through that is in our VIP days. And the VIP day experience is a half-day opportunity plus 90 days of support where you get to work with me directly in order to build your corporate offer, your marketing system, and understand and clarify your simplified sales process. And essentially, what we do is when we start on our day, we go through your offers. And I do this with every client because oftentimes I can pick out something or an opportunity where if they just made a little slight shift, they're able to tap into a market that's more aligned with their goals, revenue goals specifically, and the clients that they wish to serve. And so we go through that piece, and then I help you to install my marketing system. So we just talked about LinkedIn, like I said today. There's an email strategy, there's an event strategy that you can leverage, and all of those together, depending on, again, your unique situation in terms of your offers, how you like to connect with people, and what type of brand you already have. I help you to determine your customized lead generation system that either you or your team can run, again, to get as many leads as you can handle. The process works. You up level your activity, then your output will reflect that. And then in the final stage, we go through the sales process, which is often something that people don't think about, but this is something that's very important. Once you get people on the phone, you want to make sure that you know exactly how you're going to move them to the close. And in that process, I'll just speak a little bit about how I approach this so you can understand my methodology and see if it's aligned with you. I take people through a process that is more consultative, that is you trying to understand how you can best serve them. And typically these are cold conversations. Like we just said, not cold conversations, but they come from cold leads. We're talking about going on LinkedIn, building brand new connections, right? So this is not hop on the phone and close a 100K deal today, typically. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just wanting to be very real with you on what I'm seeing from being in this industry and what I've experienced from generating cold relationships of people who don't know you, that are giving you the opportunity to get on the phone with them and actually figure out how to solve their problems. And so I have a step-by-step process that takes them through basically selling themselves into your offer and also saving you time, right? Some people want to jump straight to a proposal or straight to let's go ahead and sign, and they haven't even gathered the information. They haven't built the rapport. They haven't built the trust, none of that. And they think they're going to get to the call and just, everything is going to be roses and close today. Could happen. Again, I'm not, never say never, but I would rather teach you a more sustainable process that can work for you. No matter if the person is ready to go, that's great, but let's slow them down. Let's make sure we get all the information that we need so that we can properly serve the individual. I think the worst thing that you can do is get into a contract or agreement with someone and then come to find out there is a whole bunch of things that you didn't cover in the initial conversation that would have been helpful to know before you price them, before you sign the contract, all the things. And so my process is comprehensive in covering all of those areas, building that rapport and getting to a natural point where it makes sense to give a proposal to move forward. And if that's not in the first call, that is okay. It is okay to keep the process going in a way that makes sense versus trying to push someone who just met you to be able to open their wallet again to sign that $100,000. Again, final thing, it can happen, but I give a process that you can use even if that does not happen. Okay. So yeah, those are the 3 phases that you would use within that process. And so I teach that. So after that VIP day, you have a plan of execution that you could run. The VIP day client that I just had recently is already running and executing and messaging me in Voxer, the responses that she's getting and all the things that are happening. So she's running that process. And after the VIP day, you still get 90 days of support from me. And so this is where, as you're executing the process, as you're having your calls, as you are, pitching your offer, you'll be able to connect with me for me to review your process, to help you course correct, to give you feedback based on the calls or the emails that you're receiving, so that this process can continue to iterate to be a well-oiled machine for you. Now, I give the process out front of how I run this. However, I think through that Voxer, through the 90 days of support, you get to find your own stride with it because, of course, you're getting the blueprint and the framework, but I give people an opportunity to make it their own and figure out what best serves them and what they feel most energized by. So you get that 90 days of support. And through that, you should be able to be off the races and use this process to create SOPs for future team members, or again, continue to run the process all the way up to your corporate contract goals. That's the goal, for you to get the system and process in place, the well-oiled machine that you can be able to run successfully on your own. So I've said a lot. And if this sounds like something that you are interested in, we have a couple of people that are in the process to possibly book our July spots. But we have 2 spots right now, tentatively left in July. And then we'll be moving on to book into August. And we'll actually be opening up our books for the entire year to go ahead and pre-book VIP days through December until our shutdown. So if you would like to get your spot, this is the perfect time. Summer, especially as people are, kind of in and out traveling, but also it's a little bit quieter for those who may not be. This is a good time to get your process in place and be prepared to start closing some of these opportunities. And it's new budget season for most organizations, started on July 1. So this is a good time to get a part of their yearly budget if they haven't already, earmarked everything. This may be an opportunity for you to start to get in that conversation and be a line item on the budget. All right, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and DM me the letters VIP, and then we will ask you a few questions, make sure that you qualify, because again, this is a fast-tracked program. So if you're ready to, or it's not really a program, a fast-tracked experience. So I want people who can take a process, a proven process, run it, get the results that they need, and continue to go off in the races. I don't want people just wanting to sit on information or get things and don't get results. So we will make sure that you have specific qualifications in place so that you can be set up for success by going through this experience in particular. So that, and once we go through that, then you will get your invoice to go ahead and complete the payment, which the VIP day right now is $5,000. We will be bringing in an option to do some done for you lead generation, which will be an upgrade for the VIP day. Not rolled out yet, but if it's something you're interested in, definitely mention that, because that is, again, a part of our pre-booking that we'll have. And I know a lot of people want done for you lead generation. So you definitely want to be on the top of our wait list for that, if that is something that you need. Yes, so gave you the pricing. That's what it will look like. You would get your invoice, and then we will go ahead and get you scheduled for your day. Not a lot of pre-work, just really sharing some information with me, and we use the day to go ahead and dive in. I sing you lunch, we have a good time, and we get you set up for success in these corporate contracts. All right. So that's what it looks like. I'll answer any questions that you have in the DMs, and I look forward to seeing you, and I look forward to having you in the experience. All right. So I will see you all next week, same time, same place, for our next live episode. All right, guys, talk to you soon.